recording. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we'll make an official start. Hello, Annalese. We've not actually ever seen each other before, so hello.
Hi.
Lovely to meet you.
Thank you. You too. Thanks for having me.
If I look like I'm kind of a bit dazed, it's because I'm monitoring a number of screens and kind of letting people in and doing this and that. So I'll mute myself shortly. But so to start, I'm going to share my screen first. I'll share my screen, which is this guy here, I think. Screen 2. Yep. So, of course, today is our second One Business Zoom workshop, and today we're focusing on the Best of Queensland Experience with Annalese Chainey from Tourism and Events Queensland. So we're really excited to be focusing on something really quite specific. Yesterday, I guess this first block of workshops is really kind of social media, customer focused, marketing-y, media-y sort of focus in this first block of workshops, and then the next block we'll kind of pivot into something else. But I think this is particularly important, talking about the Best of Queensland Experience, because it's about customer focus. It is again the Year of Indigenous Tourism. Yes, Jabberkai announced that they were closing this week, so it's kind of all of these things happening at the same time, so it's particularly relevant. Of course, I want to acknowledge, first of all, before this screen, I actually want to acknowledge country and acknowledge the traditional owners of where we're all at. I don't know if I actually have a slide for that. No, I don't. I don't have a slide. I usually have a slide for that. I'll have to put that one in next week. But what would be lovely, and we did it last week, and I'm going to collate all of where everybody's from. So if you, in your chat window, I'm just going to let Jackie in. If in your chat window you would like to acknowledge where you're from as well, that would be really awesome. I'm going to collate where our One Business footprint for next week's Zoom. I'm here on Turrbal and Yuggera country. So Brisbane, Meanjin, I'm on the north side. And of course, I acknowledge our country and acknowledge the traditional owners of not just this place, but all of Queensland and Australia. I also want to, as you can see from the screen, acknowledge TAFE Queensland and Advance Queensland for their support in getting this program up. I think it's a really important program. We've delivered a few programs for TAFE Queensland and the Queensland government over the last few years, Emma and myself. And really what we've identified, I guess, over the last three or 4 years is there's a real, I don't know, I think there's and Emma, you might, I don't know, sorry, I'm just putting Emma on the spot here, but I feel like there's a real, I don't know, is it a change? There's a sense, I guess, you know, with our alumni group, there's a sense that, you know, more and more Indigenous business owners are taking over this space. It's not necessarily just folks who work in government doing the workshops, it's actually Indigenous business owners doing the workshops. So I feel like there's a real, we've kind of, you know, really hitting our strides in that respect. So, but I do want to acknowledge TAFE Queensland and Advance Queensland. So today, just a few little bit of housekeeping. You're on camera. Hey, how you going? At the end of this workshop, we will edit it and we will upload it to our website that's coming, so that and we'll share the session so that those who couldn't make it tonight still have access to the learnings. And I think that that's really important. We should be about 60 minutes with Q&A. Last week we actually went over, we were like an hour and a half because it was such a good conversation. And Annalese, there's no pressure. If you need to finish, that's okay. If you do need to go, don't feel embarrassed or anything. You can head off when you need to head off. The recording obviously will be there as well, so you can see it. Please use the chat window. Sorry, I'm pointing to my chat window, which is sitting over here. So use the chat window to post any questions, but at the end, I will also throw some questions up. Now, the thing that I forgot to do last week was actually put in but there's a few familiar faces from last week. I do have a survey, feedback survey, which of course is always really important to help us improve our delivery. So I'm going to put last week's survey into the chat window. So if you did attend and haven't yet filled in the survey, I'd be really, really grateful if you could do that. If not now, later on. At the end of this session, I'm going to put in another link. It's a different link. It'll look the same, but it's actually a different link. And that link is for the survey for tonight's session. So I'm going to do that. So please, 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 pretty please complete the surveys. That helps us to make our job, make the product that we deliver better. So of course I want to acknowledge country. I've done that. I've done the housekeeping items. I think I'm pretty good. This is our presenter, Annalese, who's now a bobblehead, famous bobblehead. I think that must be that might be everybody's goal, is to be a bobblehead at some point during the year. Emma and I are already bobbleheads, so you've made it. You're part of the club. Well done. And I want to acknowledge Claude, who is our who's done an amazing job with our visuals, and I think our One Business Facebook page, the graphics and the design work on there is just awesome. So I really, really love it. Okay, so Annalese, I'm going to hand over to you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Thank you.
Go over here, and you should have sharing. You should be able to share, I think.
Yes. Let me just have a go. This is my first, hopefully you could all hear me. This is my first Zoom meeting, believe it or not. I sort of missed the whole COVID on maternity leave last year. So let's see how I go.
You're doing really well. And congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I'll see if this works. Can you see my presentation?
Looks beautiful.
Awesome. Let me just, no offense, I'm just going to hide all your little faces along the side of my screen because I can't see my notes. But thank you very much for having me. Like Lisa said, I'm from Tourism and Events Queensland, and I work in the marketing strategy team across our experience design programs. Let me see if this is working.
Yep.
Sorry. So our vision at TEQ is, I guess, really inspiring the world to experience the best of dress on earth. And we do this through 6 strategic pillars: stakeholder engagement, so engaging and influencing our stakeholders across the tourism network, like events like today or tonight; growing our consumer demand through engaging marketing and activity; showcasing our world-class events calendars; leading in experience design and guiding and empowering our tourism network to deliver on our Queensland brand promise, again through workshops like this; growing our aviation access and capacity; and strategy and research, which really underpins all of the activity that we do. And although I know some of you might be tourism operators, but I know some of you aren't tourism operators, but I just wanted to preface that the content that I'm going to go through today, some of the principles and themes will definitely relate to not just the tourism industry, but across all of the industries as well. So take from it what you can, even if you aren't in the tourism industry, for the Best of Queensland Experiences program. And please forgive me, I can't see the chat thing. So if there's any questions, just holler, and hopefully I'll be able to answer them.
Yeah, we've got I'm putting myself on mute so I can listen, but I'll keep an eye on the chat window for you.
Yes, please do.
You need more monitors.
I've got 2. So I guess the Best of Queensland Experiences program, through the program, we aim to guide industry to deliver exceptional transformational experiences across Queensland. So through the program, we use what research tells us about our consumers' expectations to assess and understand our tourism industry's experience delivery. And that enables us to work with our industry to help them design experiences that we know are going to meet the needs of today's travellers and improve their business performance so that we can increase our consumer demand and performance for Queensland as a whole. And when we think about consumers and I guess what influences their decisions, we know that people trust people over all other forms of advertising. And it's so powerful. Consumers have always really had the power of word of mouth, and it's always been incredibly influential. If you think back 20 or 30 years ago now, we influenced our friends and family around us. But now if you multiply that through the power of online review platforms, today we're really playing in a different space. And today, everything really does start with the consumer. So success for the Queensland tourism industry depends on how our tourism operators personally interact with their consumers and how our consumers think, feel, and talk about their holidays. For the tourism industry, it's really been flipped from us telling the consumer how good we are, to the consumer telling us how good we are or how not good we are. And the fact that 83% of our consumers trust recommendations of friends and family over all other forms of advertising really goes to show that word of mouth is still the best form of advertising. And when you think that 93% of global travellers say their booking decisions are impacted by online customer reviews, if you're not actively encouraging consumer reviews and listening to what your customers are saying on those reviews, then you're going to be at a disadvantage. And this is not, like I said, just true of the tourism industry. Every business is receiving reviews. You'll see, how many times do you look at Google reviews or Facebook recommendations for your own services, hairdressers or builders or whatever it is you're seeking. Everything is online through, and majority of the time you will be looking at consumer reviews when you're making those decisions. So I guess, how do we take advantage of the power of this word of mouth? Well, we need our Queensland tourism operators to create transformative experiences and exceed our expectations of our consumers. It sounds really simple, but we know that if every single visitor left Queensland after having a remarkable transformative experience and with their expectations exceeded, we know that this would create advocates for us all. And this would be the most powerful way for us to get more visitors to Queensland, more money into our businesses' pockets, and for us to collectively win the market share of our competitors. So this is really the key objective of the Best of Queensland program, to help our operators deliver exceptional experiences. When we look at the assessment criteria, the criteria really focused around the consumer. So we review the criteria annually and we make sure that the criteria are first and foremost transparent. They're able to be clearly understood by the operators that we're assessing. They're robust, so they're built on consumer expectations of what a great experience is. They're independently identified and quantifiable using third-party data. And they're reflective of all the 5 stages of travel, which I'll touch on later, but also they provide leadership to industry on what best practice is. In order to truly be consumer-led, designing the assessment criteria, we looked at the 5 stages of travel, and each year when we review the criteria, we look at the 5 stages of travel again. So your guests start their travel experience long before they're with you physically. Their travel needs can be divided into 5 stages: dreaming, planning, booking, experiencing, and sharing. And this is not just true, like I said, of tourism operators. You'll see this experience model across a number of different industries. And so by looking at the needs of your guests throughout these 5 stages of travel, you can better understand what your businesses need along the entire journey and what they need to truly deliver a transformational experience. As an active and engaging social media presence, for example, that shares your story will go a really long way to ensuring that you're appealing to your guests' emotions and establishing that connection with the consumers who are then dreaming and planning their next holiday. Having a website with a secure online booking platform will make it that much easier for a consumer who is inspired to visit you to book your product with minimum fuss and to understand your booking policies and procedures, which is a big one these days, I guess, with COVID-19 and the border closures and travel restrictions and all those changing things. Booking is, and having a clear booking process and procedures and policies is really important. Providing an exceptional experience and having consistent positive online reviews is always the most powerful measure of an endorsement of a product's ability to deliver an engaging, entertaining, and memorable visitor experience. So for your product to really stand out from your competitors, you need to take them on a journey, one that they're going to remember, one that they're going to share, and one that they're going to recommend to others. And so we look at the 5 criteria shown here in the diagram. All operators who have a live listing on the Australian Tourism Data Warehouse are assessed annually against these 5 criteria. If you don't know what the Australian Tourism Data Warehouse, it's basically it's a database for the tourism industry to share experience information across a host of different online distribution websites, including Queensland.com and Australia.com, and it's free.
So can I just come back to that? So
yes, of course.
the Australian Tourism Data Warehouse, so our businesses should register with that
Definitely.
database. Yep.
Yes.
And it's free to register.
Yes, I would definitely, if you're a tourism business and you're not already on the Australian Tourism Data Warehouse, look it up and list your business, or whether it's an accommodation, a tour, a hire category, food and drink, general tourism services as well.
Yep.
And
so one of the things, so I think Emma asked the question before. She said she's interested in what is considered a tourism business.
Yes.
And I just wanted to, and which is related, so which is one question, but I'm also thinking about this in terms of my question, which is, or comment, last year or the year before, we registered Meanjin markets with the ATDW. Yeah. So we'd never really thought of it as a tourism business.
Yeah.
We were able to just register it, and then then Meanjin Markets was then featured on lots of different websites that we had nothing to do with.
100%.
Yeah. So even though it was never really a tourism business, we still managed to kind of leverage that a little bit, which I think is coming back to Emma's question of is what is a tourism business?
Yeah, definitely. There are a lot of industries who don't believe they're playing in, or businesses who don't believe or don't know that they're playing in the tourism industry, like fishing charters or fishing experiences. They do act as a tourism experience. Galleries, we know we have a lot of emerging Indigenous experience galleries that are on the Australian Tourism Data Warehouse as an attraction. That's the category I forgot. So it's worth having a look at. The categories: accommodation, tour, hire, transport, like ferries and coaches, those sorts of things, events, as well as including markets, like you said, and workshops, those sorts of
Okay, so we've got a couple of people in the room. So I'm thinking Felicity and Cecilia, you may find value in this, just having a look at ADTW as something that you might want to list some of your products on. Yeah. Because it's and Felicity's question earlier about this workshop, and something that we can come back to, is really thinking about, given COVID, are some of those, smaller, more intimate gatherings something that we might be lending ourselves towards, not just the big mega kind of experiences as well, so which fits into the workshop thing. So I'm just wearing my workshop radar at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. If it's for a leisure purpose, the small tourism workshops would definitely look at posting them, because they do have value for consumers coming to Queensland and interstate and interstate travellers as well. I can share the link in the chat.
So I'll let you get on. I just wanted to jump in there with my workshops.
Great. Where was I? So the first criteria that we look at is, I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but consistent delivery of an exceptional experience. And we look at the positive customer reviews to assess this. So we measured this by Review Pro, and this criteria is worth 60 points. And we look at our online consumer reviews across multiple different platforms. The second criteria is having a website with a secure online booking platform, and that's worth 15 points. And again, we use your ATDW, where you can actually add your online booking link in there, and that will also show up on the distributor websites and make it easier for consumers to book. We look at whether you have an active and engaging social media presence, which is worth 15 points. And we use a third-party data provider to take a look at all of your social, to take a look at your social profiles, not all of them, sorry, And I'll touch on this in a little bit as well. Regional tourism organisation membership. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with your RTO, we call them, but this is worth 5 points. And by connecting with your RTO, you receive support and advice, and you can ensure that your experience really aligns with that broader regional experience offering and the marketing, so that the message that we're presenting as a whole is consistent for the consumer, not just from your perspective, but also the broader region and then Queensland as a whole. And then accreditation. This is worth 5 points, and we work with the Queensland Tourism Industry Council to identify operators who hold recognised accreditations. These visible industry accreditations really contribute to business credibility and build confidence and trust in the consumer, or from the consumer. So programs such as ecotourism certification, which I know a number of Indigenous operators would have, especially those that work in national parks, you know, those really align with today's consumer expectations for sustainable businesses. So importantly, I guess you don't need to meet all of the criteria and have 100 out of 100 to be identified as a best of Queensland experience. Operators only need 80 out of the available 100 points to be identified. It doesn't matter how they get them, but importantly, if the business isn't consistently delivering that really exceptional transformational experience and receiving positive customer reviews, then they won't meet that criteria and there won't be a best of Queensland experience. So it really is all about the experience. So we look at, I guess, what's in it for me.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was doing the worst thing, talking while I was muted myself. I think
you picture up so I can see you.
I think Felicity has a question. She's raised it.
Yeah, of course.
Actually, I do have, in regards to the RTOs,
yes.
For a micro business, they are very unaffordable to join, and there's really no service delivery for small operators. Living in the Whitsundays, and I used to do a lot of work with a lot of small businesses, and most of them pulled out of the local RTO because there was no value in actually joining, because they were very much focused on the bigger tourism operators. And from an Indigenous perspective, we have massive issues up here because they all want to hop on the cultural tourism bandwagon, but they don't want to engage with the community appropriately. They just want to make money without. They don't want to do partnerships. They don't want to employ. A lot of us have had really bad experiences. And hence why I don't tend to do anything tourism based.
Okay. What businesses are you from? I mean, you don't have to say. I was just curious.
I'm a weaver. So I'm a cultural weaver. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Look, I think every RTO is different. And there's the regional tourism organisation, then there's the local tourism organisations as well. So it depends on how connected you are with them. And I know that the membership model is different across every organisation as well. So I know we have a representative here that works in every single region, so one specific to each different region, and you can talk to them as well. And it's not necessarily that you have to as well be a member. There are opportunities and activities that they run that aren't membership based as well, that you might be able to take advantage of, even if that's not something that your business is wants to be part of or can be part of as well. And I know, if there are things that you need to talk about with regards to the development activities, I know they are tending now even more so to focus on that experience development elements within the destinations. So it is a good time to talk about those issues and see how you can see how they can be better and taken more into consideration if that's what you feel like the need. So
I'm just having a look at I'm Googling at the same time, trying to see how much it costs to become a member of an RTO. But I guess what's really, so being a member of an RTO might not be something that that you need to do, but I definitely think just having a look through the program, because it's like 10 points or something. I think the RTO membership was.
It's only 5 points.
It's only 5 points.
That's
so
right.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't work with your business model, that's fine. And even just subscribing to the regional tourism organisation newsletters, you can still get access to the information and knowledge that they have there, and opportunities that arise that might not necessarily require any financial investment as well.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you.
I think, sorry, it's
yeah.
Sorry. I was also going to say, I know there had been a push a couple of years ago to try to get Indigenous specific sort of accreditation, or an accreditation body. I know that there have been problems. I've discussed it with a couple of businesses. There's been problems with some of the ecotourism clarifications. I don't know that they're up to the stage yet where they've got an Indigenous panel or stuff like that. But I'm a little bit out of the loop on that. But yeah.
Yeah, we have a person who works at Tourism Events Queensland, specifically looking after our Indigenous business.
Okay, so you've hired an Indigenous person.
We have one person who is specifically from an Indigenous background, and then another person who she works with as well, who's been working with Indigenous businesses for a long time in the industry. And then we also have a subsection of our board that is for has Nancy Bamberger and Jonathan Thurston as part of it as well. So we do have as well, looking at from TEQ perspective, working on our now I don't know the name of it, RAC, is it RAC?
Yep.
For our business as well. Yep. So there are definitely people here that can help you look at the activities, and if there's things that you want to talk about with regards to the tourism industry and Indigenous support and policies and those sorts of things, we can work with that as well. So I can send Lisa, I guess I'll send you through the details of our main contact at TQ who can look at those sorts of things for you, and you can share your voice and your opinions there.
Fantastic.
That's okay, yeah. So I guess if you are looking at the Best of Queensland Experiences program and you're a tourism operator being assessed in the program, I guess it's first and foremost designed as a measurement tool for you to help you and your business evaluate your experience. And when we take a look at the actual benefits, all operators who are assessed in the program receive an individual report that provides with really valuable insights on how to improve the delivery of your customer experience. It's a free business tool and report, and it's bespoke to your business, and you will receive one every year if you're assessed in the program. So it's something that you can use in your annual business planning and your team meetings and things like that to help benchmark and measure your activity. For those operators who are identified as a Best of Queensland experience, inherently by delivering a better experience, you're going to receive greater consumer advocacy and greater word of mouth. The Best of Queensland experiences are also included in TEQ's preferred operator database that our staff access. And the Best of Queensland experiences are prioritised in all of our TEQ marketing and activity. So we look to them first whenever we're doing any sort of marketing activity, because we know that if we are marketing the best experiences, our visitors are going to have a better time and they're going to go back and tell their friends and family. So we want to be marketing the best address on earth, really. And this is a little look at what the actual report entails. So the first 2 pages provides an overview of your business in relation to the criteria and comparison to other businesses or like businesses across the state and your local region as well. And the last 2 pages provide really detailed customer review insights from a company called Review Pro on your experience. And we see operators using these reports and sharing them with their teams in their staff training. They use the metrics there as KPIs for their business planning. And we see them incorporating the consumer review feedback into their maintenance schedules and budgeting for things that are mentioned in here as well, and looking into them further. So that was really the overview of the program, but I wanted to dive into a couple of the criteria. And please holler, again, raise your hands, butt in if you have any questions. But we know that we are living in a world of, really rising expectations from our consumers. And it's not just tourism industry, but across all industries. The consumers are looking for experiences over possessions. And they're looking for purpose-led brands that really align with their own personal beliefs and values. So I wanted to take you through this first one, the consistent delivery of an exceptional experience based on positive customer reviews. It's really the most important criteria that we have. We use ReviewPro to measure this, like I said, and this provides what we call a Global Review Index, a GRI, which is a measurement score out of 100. ReviewPro look at customer reviews on your business from over 175 online review sites worldwide from all different countries and from all different languages. And we look at a 1 year period and need at least 25 reviews to generate that Global Review Index score. And in this particular criteria, an operator needs 80 out of 100 for their GRI in order to meet the criteria.
So if you were looking to start ramping up, so you could think about getting Best of Queensland, you want to build, hey, can you leave me a review?
Yes.
Into your workflow so that you're getting lots of reviews. And yeah,
definitely. You want to start soliciting feedback from your guests. I know, that's the right term? It's okay to ask for reviews. A lot of businesses, and I think we talked about online reviews, Lisa, and the customer experience. You might see that in the future, but you know, it's okay to ask for reviews, and customers expect you to ask for reviews for your business in one way or another, whether it's an email or whether it's a thank you or, you know, whether it's checkout or even on your Facebook, obviously not every day, but, you know, every now and then it's fine to ask customers to leave a review because we all use them. I know I do. So somebody has to write them.
And and one of the things that I think as a business we can forget is some of the review sites have kind of gamified reviews. So I actually got this afternoon at 3:50 my I don't know if you can see that. That's my Google reviews. Hey, Lisa, you've done an amazing job. Your reviews have been seen over 5,000 times. And I get stars and they tell me how good I am at leaving reviews. So some people don't mind being reminded to leave a review because they actually get little points. There's no money involved in it, but it's like I get stars and then there's little digital confetti and all that kind of stuff. And then my photos, they tell me how great my photos are and how many people have looked at my photos and how the information I gave them helped people make decisions. And so, you know, we get, as people who leave reviews actually really enjoy leaving. Well, there's people who are really like trolls. Like there's those guys, but then there's lots of other people who actually really enjoy it.
It's all right. And it's not just...
So don't be embarrassed about asking for them.
It's not just asking for reviews as well. You know, it's when you do get a review, responding to those reviews, that goes a really long way. I read a statistic today from TripAdvisor. They did a study of 23,000 travelers, and 77% of them said that they would more likely to book a product if they saw that there were management reviews, responses to reviews, both positive and negative. It really does help build that trust for the consumer in your product and experience. The information that we present in that report that you saw before from ReviewPro, if you were to sign up to ReviewPro individually, that would cost you $1,000 a year. So for all of this information, which is included for free in the Best of Queensland Experiences program, you really just need to sign up for a free listing on the Australian Tourism Data Warehouse. So there's quite a lot of value there that we're providing. I guess it leads me to my next bit, which really the big question is, how do you deliver an experience that consumers are going to rave about? What does it mean? What do they want? And we want to focus, I guess, on the core guest experiences. These are really the checklist of how best to meet the needs of your travellers and your visitors, and you know, the people who are coming to your workshops, the people who are coming to your galleries. How can you, what do you want them to feel and say about your experience? So from consumer research, we understand there are the 5 core guest expectations. Whether your market is domestic or you're international or you're a combination of both, these are some common travel expectations of the people visiting your business. Ease. They really want everything to be easy. And this might sound something like, I made all my bookings online. The information was really clear and I knew exactly what I needed to bring. They want to feel comfortable. And that would sound something like, it may sound something like, the operator was really warm and the staff were really friendly. They cared about me and my health and safety, and they knew, they understood what I wanted, and they cared about the things that I cared about, like the environment. And they want to feel more connected. Your customers feel like they are a part of something bigger. They want to understand your story and what you do and feel connected to your culture and community and the environment. And they want to carry that back home with them when they return from their travels. The customers really want to feel inspired. And that might sound like, I didn't know how fascinating Queensland could be. I learned something new and that changed me. There was so much more to it than I thought. And lastly, they want to feel empowered. So your customers are wanting to feel re-energized mentally, physically, and emotionally. They want to feel changed and to feel like they can make change happen when they come away from their holiday experiences. And this is, I guess, this is how, those core guest expectations, what that means for an operator to actually deliver. So when we look at our overall, when TQ, we look at our experience design, these 5 guest expectations are really what we're trying to embed in our operator thinking. So if you make it easy, they are going to feel that everything was easy for them. If you establish a connection, it will make them comfortable. If you share your story, and then they will feel more connected with you. If you take them on a journey, they're going to feel inspired. And if you inspire them to make a difference, then they're going to feel empowered. The 2 on the left are really the basic must-haves, your functional needs or your hygiene factors. And they need to be really, really well done. And the 3 on the right, they're about making a genuine emotional connection with guests. The goal is for our operators to move from beyond delivering just a good experience to bring out those transformational experiences that truly exceed our customer expectations. Does that make sense for everyone? Do you have any feedback on that?
Last week we talked, Claude talked a lot about the, telling your story in terms of social media, on social media. And I think that I don't know. When you tell you, I'm also really thinking about the first slide, and at least the dreaming slide, because I imagine myself how long I can dream for something for 2 years and then suddenly do it. So it's kind of like I did the telling of your story over that period of dreaming and thinking about it and imagining yourself there. I think that must be there must be something in that as well.
Yeah, definitely. And that story is, you need to thinking about all of these different expectations from every one of those travel moments. So when the operator is planning and dreaming, when the consumer is in that planning and dreaming phase, how can you establish that connection? How can you share your story, and how can you take them on a journey for your business and your experience that you're delivering?
Yeah.
And as well, when a consumer, not just when they've been there to your experience or to your workshop, when they've left, and you're encouraging them to talk to you through social media afterwards or share their experiences. How do you do that? How do you make it easy for them to share their experience with others? How do you make it easy for them to write online reviews of you? Is it it could be as simple as making sure your experience has the same name on Facebook as it does on Google, as it does on TripAdvisor, because there's a lot that don't. And that is confusing as well. So how do you make it easy as a basic foundation for a great experience?
Can I just say from last week as well, we talked about buying decisions, and when you showed that first slide, I think there was the stages of a traveller or someone who's wanting an experience.
Yes.
that can really translate into content pillars for somebody who's really wanting to do a rotation of content really well. I found that really helpful, I think, when you shared that, to kind of go, if someone's in the dreaming stage, how can you talk to that person in the dreaming stage?
Yes.
If someone's in the ready to book stage, how can they talk to that and just keep that kind of conversation going and rotating around?
Exactly. Yeah, it's very true. And it's, we know that different businesses in the tourism network come into play at different times. So, the state to ourselves, Tourism and Events Queensland, we really play in that dreaming and planning phase. Then the regional tourism organisations, and even yourselves with the information that you have on your websites, play in that planning stage, and in particular the booking stage, as well as the online travel agents and the bricks and mortar travel agents and other partners that we work with to make those bookings and convert those dreamers into customers, really. So it does help if you analyse your business through looking at all of those stages of travel, and then looking at each of these expectations across every stage of travel, if you're looking for a framework to evaluate your business. Stay tuned, I guess. Actually, we have some activity coming out around experiences and experience design later in March, April, that essentially has those sort of check boxes like you're looking at, and information around how you can do that as well. I would keep an eye on the activities that we're presenting in our newsletters for that.
I wonder if there's an opportunity. I'm just trying to think. The dreaming. So I went to, I ended up going to Darwin for the first time in my life last year. I don't know, I was there for like a weekend at a conference, and I went there, never been there before. We hired a car, and I know this isn't about Queensland, so sorry, Queensland, but we went to the Litchfield National Park, and we saw the termites, and I was like, excuse me, how is this not like on everyone's bucket list? Like, I'd never heard of Litchfield National Park, never heard of these bloody termites that are like, oh my God, an alien has just landed. Like, it's really interesting that there are some places that capture the imagination and then have a people talk about it, and then others that for some reason don't. And I'm thinking of like the Larapinta Trail. I'm thinking of that, where there are groups of people who talk about, well, when I did the Larapinta, when I'm going to do like they actually talk. So they're doing all the work of tourism events, well, New Northern Territory. They're doing all of the work of that because they're all talking about it in that, and they're doing the dreaming and the planning stuff. You don't have to necessarily do as much work. Whereas, so what is it that, because I'm thinking of you, Cecilia, it's like, everyone should do the Torres Strait Islands once, or everyone should do the Cape at least once in their life. And so and I don't know, there may be groups that are out there going, oh yeah, I'm going to do it this year, and I'm going to do this, and like the Camino, like a Camino type thing, or the Larapinta, or the Overland Trail, or it's like, yeah, I just feel like that there's, for some regions and some experiences, there's conversations happening really organically, and for others there isn't. And I'm always really amazed at how come people aren't thinking about the ants' nest the way they think about other things. Like, it's fascinating. It's probably a big research project already done.
And it is about the destinations and the experience operators as well, facilitating those really wow moments, I guess, for visitors. So, how can you design your space that leads an operator to, have a wow experience like that, whether it be an epic view or be it, the moment they first taste whatever it is that they're tasting, that it blows them away, that they've never thought they're totally surprised by that moment, that delight and surprise. And how do you make those experiences for your guests, and then also how do you make them shareable? So, how do you get those consumers, because they're wow moments, they will share them if they are on social media, those operators, and if not, they'll share them with their friends and family. But that's the way you should be thinking about your business and the journey that you're a visitor or a consumer goes through when they're talking and interacting with you as a business.
And I wonder if there's also an opportunity for businesses who leverage off other things. Like I do park run, so sorry if I've not mentioned it before, because normally I do. They have a drinking game in my family. If she mentions park run, you've got to drink, that sort of thing. But you could have if you're on the Torres Strait, have like everyone needs to go to do the northernmost park run. Like, how do you leverage off those kinds of things that already exist in the world and go, we're gonna hive off a bit of the interest of this group of people and make them come to us to help us build that momentum or build that conversation around stuff. Yeah.
I guess that's where connecting with your industry, getting out there, doing things like this, networking, building those connections really does allow you to tap into the expertise and the visitors and the interactions of all of the experience that's happening around you, because it's not just, you don't exist in a bubble. You exist for a visitor. They're not just coming to your business, they're coming to the region and they're coming to Queensland as a whole. So if we're all singing from the same hymn book and we're all working to the same, experience standard, then they're going to have a much better experience with us overall. And you can leverage those networks to do that. Awesome. I just wanted to go through, and I don't know how much time, I did want to touch, I've only got 2 slides left, 3 slides left anyway. So I did want to touch on the last criteria, the second, a second criteria called active and engaging social media, just because it's probably the most complex of the criteria that we look at. And I know like you said, you did that social media workshop last week. So this is how we measure the social media through the Best of Queensland Experiences program, and there's some resources that I thought might help as well. So we look at 3 different metrics, and those metrics have been developed by a company called Tourism Tribe, who are industry leaders in the tourism, social media and marketing space. We assess average posts per week, and whether you're posting, for the benchmark for the program is 4 posts per week. We look at consistency of posts. So how consistently are you posting? Are you posting twice this week? Then 10 times next week when you're really, really excited and motivated? Or then is it 0 times next week when it's really busy? So it's something to definitely think about, and it does impact your consumer's experience, especially in that dreaming phase. And we have an algorithm that measures that as well. Then we look at the engagement. So are your posts high quality enough so that they receive engagement from your audience? And when we talk about engagement, we measure an average benchmark of 20 points per post, where a like equals 1 point, a comment equals 2 points, and a share equals 3 points, because everyone wants you to share your content. So we look at these metrics over a 4-week period. And in order to be a Best of Queensland experience, you must meet 2 of the 3 metrics across either Facebook or Instagram. Those are the 2 channels that we look at the present time. But obviously, like you said, these criteria do change, and as
do you get to pick the random period, or does somebody else do it?
No, we choose a random period, and we don't tell you.
Do we know when you're coming?
We don't tell you, actually, because you know what? A consumer is dreaming, or like you said, a consumer is dreaming and planning for 2 years. Just because if you're a wow watching operator and your business operates during June to July, that's when people are coming, but it's not necessarily when people are planning. So we really need to look at the social media experience 24/7, and not just when you have time in your business. And that's where all the tools can help you. So, that's where I would encourage you to have a look at some of these resources. So take a screenshot, or when the presentation comes out, there's some hyperlinks in there as well. I'm trying to move your faces off my screen so I can read my notes, sorry. So I would encourage you to download TUQ's content framework. It's free. It has best practices for social media content, how to use content through each of the phases of that planning cycle, holiday planning cycle. So the dreaming, the booking, the sharing, the experiencing. It has best practice tactics, and it has tools and tips to ensure you have a coordinated effort across sourcing and creating and promoting authentic, memorable content. And so where are you going to get your inspiration for your content from? It helps you sort of organise that and have a look at the sources that you could work through. Have a look at some of the Queensland Tourism Industry Council's digital ready resources and short videos that they've developed over the last year and the previous year. Tourism Tribe is another organisation that offers an online learning hub with both paid and free short courses. I think they start at like $20 for a few hour, 3 or 4 hour course and video. You can connect with us on our social media through those handles and the hashtag there. And through our industry newsletter, you'll see we will regularly post webinars that you can be part of and programs that we're running that I would encourage you to be part of and take a look at if you've got you're subscribed to our industry newsletter. And then there's another organisation, the Tourism eSchool blog, which I would highly recommend you having a look at if you're in the tourism space. It's free and it's really, really practical. And they have really great articles that would complement your social media planning in your activities that you're doing. Aside from that, this is the website for our Best of Queensland Experiences program. That has all of the information that I've gone through and even more resources on there. And also there's a checklist there that you can download on our website for how to work with TEQ if you are wanting to engage further. And we have representatives from each of the different regions across Queensland that work directly with our tourism operators that you can reach out to, and that would be your first point of contact as well. Then I can point you in the direction of. So I guess, I don't know if there's 3 key takeouts from today or tonight. I'm waiting for my screen to change. For me, that I would love you to take away from this would be that 5 stages of travel diagram, the circle with the dreaming, planning, booking, experiencing and sharing phases. Have a look at that. It's really does guide everything that we here at TEQ do, and it should guide all the activity that you do, and it's transferable across not just the tourism industry. It's, I guess, anywhere that your customers are researching and planning and booking your experience. The core guest expectations, again, this is transferable not just for tourism operators, but have a look at those and really consider how you are delivering on those at every stage of that journey and interaction with your consumer. And then thirdly, I would actively encourage an online reviews of your business and manage your online reputation, because I can't say how important it is in the industry today, and building that trust with the consumer and potential visitor is super important.
And we might do we've already had a chat, as we mentioned before, about doing a specific reviews session in, a little bit later on in the year. So I think that will be really fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Is that it? That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we've just made it under the 7:55. These are your links. Now, a couple of people have asked. Yes, Annalese is going to share the slides with us, so I will send those out to you as well. I just want to make sure I've answered all the questions.
I can't see them.
Emma, have we addressed your question about what you're interested in, what is considered a tourism business? I think from a BoQE, Best of Queensland Experience accreditation, we've kind of touched on that enough.
Yeah, I think it was more generally to challenge people in the group to think about tourism businesses, their relationships with tourism businesses, their opportunities to possibly collaborate with those businesses.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As Indigenous businesses, our opportunity to support. So I know a couple of I saw some of Johnny Jaramali some of his photos there. But if you do have tourism businesses around you and they are sharing really good content, try to support them in that. That lifts them in the Best of Queensland experience.
Yep.
So just being part of that ecosystem with them, especially if they bring people or attract, like Annalese was mentioning with the dreaming aspects, if they're attracting people into your area, then there's opportunities there for you.
Definitely.
I don't know if I'm just stopping my screen. I'm going to share another one in a minute. But I do remember during when we were running another project, one of the interesting things was the most successful, so Cecilia, one of the most successful social media posts that we had were those who were, because we were creating micro stories, and the ones that did the best in terms of social media were our Torres Strait Islander businesses. They just got shared. Our little thing was like this, and then bam, like the statistics went crazy. So clearly a very sharing kind of culture there. We need to probably on the mainland be doing something similar, I imagine, to support our tourism businesses to get out there as well, I think.
Yeah, definitely. We have we do have some really great imagery from a workshop, a campaign that we did up there in Thursday Island and the Torres Strait. The imagery that comes out of there is beautiful, and it's so shareable and it's so inspiring as well.
So we do have a question here is, so how can Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander businesses use online content to create demand? What's working well at the moment? What do you think, what strategies and tactics are kind of working the best at the moment, Annalese, do you think?
Is that, sorry, I'm just looking for the question. I need to.
Oh, it's right at the top. That was from Claude, I think. Yes.
I think the first thing that you need to look at is try and do that review of your account and try and do that a review of all of your online content and make sure that it is all consistent with your brand and your experience that you're delivering, so that if your experience is presented in a way that it is, and a consumer is going to come to you, that their expectations are being met. It's no point having an amazing, making all these promises if you don't fulfill those expectations. So making sure that your online presence, which people are going to be looking at first, I guess, is consistent with what you're delivering. And then make use of some of those resources. Engaging content is paramount. Imagery that follows some of those Queensland content framework. That's what people are looking for. Authentic voices on the imagery. We're not really looking for those staged, artsy kind of, I guess, shots and images anymore. People don't expect that perfect presentation of photos. They are looking for what's really authentic and that voice that's going to talk to them. It's going to connect them to your business as well. I hope that helps. Yeah, answered your question.
Excellent. Thank you. So so everybody who's listening, if you're on a computer, could you please go and complete the survey and listen to us talking while we're talking? So you can go and complete the survey while we're here. But I do have one question for listening. I just want to make sure I got it right. So with the uncertainty of COVID and the constantly changing requirements, do you see a change from large events to more personalised, intimate events becoming more popular? My follow-up question for that would be, could you see an impact of that on people's social media? I'm just thinking of the criteria for those 15 points. If we're kind of lots of little events versus like a big chunky, like lots of chunky stuff, I wonder if there could be, I don't know. So I guess the first part of the question is just simply about the intimate events, and then the second part is, could that impact the way that we measure successful social media?
I wish I had my events people here. We have a whole team dedicated to the event.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine. But of course, you know, I think regardless of the size of the event, you can create those intimate experiences. So the bigger events, things like Woodford Folk Festival, they have a huge connection with and they have a huge community with that event. So the larger events, as well as the smaller events, as long as that event is connecting with the consumer, and you've got that community, and you're talking and with the people that you're that you're targeting, and you know who they are through the research or through looking at your statistics in your Facebook or your emails or your website visitors. If you have a look at that and you really understand who is coming to you and who you want to target, then you know, you're still going to be able to make those connections and those. I think the thing with COVID at the moment is people are really looking for transformational experiences. They're looking for experiences that are going to move them and to change them and make them feel empowered. So whether that be from a smaller workshop type event or whether it be from a larger experience or event, it doesn't really correlate, but that, you know, you can get that from any size of event, I think.
Yeah.
And for the Best of Queensland Experiences program, so we look at, unfortunately, we don't review events on our experiences program. We do look at attractions in terms of workshops and things that would, I guess, the workshop operators that are here. The reason we can't look at events, unfortunately, is because the online review platforms aren't there for events. So TripAdvisor doesn't have an online review platform component for events unless it's 50,000 visitors or more. Google, you can't have event reviews for an event per se, but you can have a location with reviews. So the online review component for events is not, it's not really, they don't really review events online, and either on Facebook as well. So that's the main reason we don't assess events in the program, but you can still see how the elements of the program can work with your event and how you can follow those I guess the criteria and see how you go across them. But it's just that the review platform, which makes up the majority of the program, isn't available for events, unfortunately. I wish it was. It'd be so.
So Claude's question about the pop-up shop, I think it was you, Claude, asked about, could we do this for the pop-up shop? So you could definitely register the pop-up as an event on ADTW.
Definitely, yes.
The Engine Markets. You wouldn't necessarily put it through the Best of Queensland Experience accreditation.
Yeah, so if it's an event category, it wouldn't be able to go through there because we can't assess it, unfortunately. But attractions, which markets can be put up as attractions as well as events, then yes, they can go through the program.
Awesome. But I think the thing that makes most people nervous is the social media. Oh my gosh. but we can all be doing that anyway. Doesn't matter if we're not going to get reviewed. We can be aiming to do that sort of stuff as well. So yeah. Are there any other questions? I'm just going to share my.
I was just going to quickly say, thank you very much for that. I feel like you almost need someone to document you and go around chasing you for the whole process and I capture all of these amazing moments and how wonderful you're doing before you can get onto this platform as well.
I really love the term work on your business, not in your business. And I know it's really hard with the, you know, sole traders that a lot of us are, but it is really good to take that step back from working in the business to have a look at how, and that's, you all know that because otherwise you wouldn't be here. So you do need people to have a look around and to look at your business from the eyes of the consumer in order to improve it, if that's what you want to do, which most people do.
I did have another question. I did put it in the chat, Lisa, sorry.
That's my
In regards to authentic Indigenous cultural experiences, what's the current appetite, so international visitors versus domestic visitors? Because talking to a lot of Indigenous tourism operators, the bulk of their customer profile is international visitors as opposed to domestic. Are you finding that's changing, or is it sort of that thing that we need to wait until the travel restrictions are lifted before we start seriously developing and investing in new products?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm not across all of the research at the moment that's currently out there, but I know that when we present when we present Queensland and Australia's core offering, the Indigenous experiences are our unique competitive advantage. We have two of the world's oldest living cultures right here in Queensland, so we're so lucky in that respect. No other destinations have that, so there is naturally a pull from international for an appetite for those visitor experiences. But from a domestic point of view, we can have a look at, we do have research on this, but I wouldn't know off the top of my head exactly, the shift in, if there is a shift in the domestic appetite for the Indigenous experiences.
And if there's an appetite for that conversation, Felicity, we can have a session specifically on Indigenous tourism, if you like.
Yeah, I just think it'd be really interesting.
Yeah.
And just to be able to support other sort of businesses that are looking at going into that space.
Yep. And maybe looking at some of the research and seeing what's out there, and
extensive research out of Western Australia, who have invested via WATOC, the Western Australian Indigenous Tourism Operators Council. So they did research after the first, so I think they've just done their third 5-year research point. So 5 years, 5 years, 5 years. So they're pretty advanced on this front, Felicity. And they found that once they captured, I think the stats were remarkable, once they captured a domestic tourist for their first Indigenous tourism offering, they were 75% more likely to go for a second one when they visited a new location. And their investment that they poured into that sector over a decade ago is really bearing fruit now for them. So that I might see, I'll have a look for you and see what their latest stats are, Felicity, because they do put out quite a bit of reporting out of that.
Yeah, cool, thank you.
We might have a specific session on that. Can I just say thank you very much, Annalese? Butterfly claps. Thank you, everybody. Well done. Thank you. But wait, there's more. We are going to share with you the slide deck from this evening, so we can get all this awesomeness out there. Please provide feedback. I have shared in the chat last week's feedback and tonight's feedback forms. They're two different surveys, so make sure you do the right one. And also, please feel free to join our alumni group on Facebook, where we continue the yarn and continue the conversation. And next week,
also, Lisa, and to follow, jump and follow our One Business Facebook page.
Oh yes, and please like our One Business Facebook page. Next week, no, as it says there, no. Annalese is not coming back to talk again about Mr. Queensland Experience. She's actually, we're actually having Nikki Gallagher talk about selling online experience. So online experiences and selling online, and how you can improve customer experience even though you're not face-to-face anymore. How do we do that? So that's a typo. Let's pretend you didn't see that one. Any other feedback? Any other questions? I'm going to exit. I can never find my stop share. There we go. There we are. We did it again. Well done, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks all for coming. Oh, Claude. Go, Claude.
Questions, girl. Is good to go very much the same as this qualification as well? Queensland Good to Go campaign.
Good to Go is our marketing campaign that we currently have for domestic, interstate and intrastate visitors. So it's essentially our marketing campaign, and behind that is the COVID safe guidelines and COVID safe processes that you need to put in place, and we don't have those as part of the criteria as the Best of Queensland Experiences program, so they would be separately. But if you actually are on the Australian Tourism Data Warehouse, you should make sure that you have if you have the COVID safe plans in place for your business and your industry, make sure you put them on the ATW, because that will also show up on any of the distributor websites. The Queensland.com will have a little stamp that says that your business in particular is good to go. And we know that, consumers have definitely got to focus on safety and hygiene at this point in time. I mean, it's always been important, but more important in particularly at this time. So it's a marketing campaign, and those plans are separate to the Best of Queensland program.
Just a final thing about ATTW. So if you imagine back in the olden days, I imagine what a little tourism person would have to put their information on all of these websites. So now what you do is you put it onto ADTW and they go to everybody automatically. So that's the value of ADTW.
100%.
It saves you lots of money, and you click, 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 off you go.
The nail on the head.
Yes, that's it. So we don't have to do everything. We just do once and then it's done. All right, everybody, go and enjoy your Tuesday. I need a cup of tea. You can all go and have a cup of tea. See you. Bye.